Hey guys, welcome back to Fire Team Base. This is Reaper, and I'm joined with Bees. And today we're going to be talking about our Week 17 NFL preview. Bees, it was a long season, man. We got about 10 weeks in there. How do you feel you finished?
I feel I did good, man, especially against the master guru over here, Reap. It came down to Cardinals versus Giants, believe it or not. If I hate Eli Manning, and I hate him even more for losing that game. But big ups to you, man. Congratulations on winning the NFL pick'ems for the season. And we're foregoing Week 17 picks because it's a lot of teams are resting their starters and stuff, and it's like fantasy. It really doesn't matter in week 17. So, yeah, congrats to you, man, and I can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah, it really stayed close all the way through, man. It was good. And if you were following us last week, Week 16, Bees finished 12 and 4 to bring his season total up to 98 and 51. Reap finished 12 and 4 to bring his season total up to 99 and 50. And our guest, Clutch Scopes, finished 11 and 5 to bring his guest season total up to 97 and 52.
Yeah, man, it didn't really matter who the guest was at the end of the day. We were all right there biting our nails to see who would win that last week. But just goes to show you, man, it's tough calling these games, and we were damn near a 2.0 there. You were one game off, and I was three games off. So, yeah, dude. So let's talk about Week 17 playoff scenarios and all that good stuff, man. Or wait,
All
actually,
right.
before we
As
do that, why don't you announce our playoff guests list and rankings so everyone knows who will be joining us in the next coming weeks?
All right, going into the playoffs, we have four players seated from the bottom to the top. We have Razor with a win percentage of 75%. In third place, we have Knife to Meet You at 76.9%. In second, we have Ben Frank Money, 81.25%. And our winner for the guest this year is Backstraw Cab, 84.6%. Not a
Yeah,
bad string of guests. We were up there. We had a lot of people up there. It came really close to the fourth seed. Razor hung on just enough last week by one game to keep his spot.
yeah, man, it was fun and interesting. We did start late. Next year we'll have more guests and it'll be a little more interesting. But yeah, big ups to you guys, man. We're glad that you were guests on the show, and we can't wait to have you again in the playoffs. And each week a guest will be eliminated, and we'll see who makes it to the final Super Bowl week to win their prize. So yeah, man. So now officially, Week 17 playoff matchups, awards that we think on people who we think will win the awards, and take us away, bud.
All right, with that, let's start with our rookie of the year, Bees. I know we've had some decent rookies, but there's one guy in my mind I think stands out. Who would you say is your rookie of the year?
Well, for me, it's got to be Kareem Hunt of the Kansas City Chiefs, running back. He came out of nowhere to me, really, under the radar. I know they said he was going to be pretty decent coming out of college, but if I could go back and change a fantasy pick, my second or third, I believe in my leagues that he went later in the fourth round. I definitely would have scooped him up, but he did a lot for that team, and he kind of took them away from that one-dimensional game and really opened it up for Alex Smith to throw more too, because he could catch out of the backfield. So to me, it's Kareem Hunt. I hope you win it, buddy. But you did have some tough competition this year. Who you got, Reap?
Yeah, I actually had Kareem Hunt as my second favorite. I think my favorite rookie of the year this year would be Alvin Kamara. He put up crazy numbers, especially for a guy that had to split carries out of the backfield with Mark Ingram. I really think he had a great year, and I think he's probably going to win it in real life because we had so many injuries to a lot of other rookies.
Yeah, if the Saints still had Brandon Cooks, I would say watch out for them. But if teams focus more on the running game and the dump off passes, I think they'll be able to beat them. But yeah, you're right, man. Kamara did come out of he to me he's the true came out of nowhere. But I just feel like Kareem Hunt did a little more for their team because I mean, I'm sorry, Kareem Hunt did a little more for their team because Kamara did have Ingram, who had a hell of a season this year too. Definitely an MVP candidate. But let's move on to Coach of the
But
Year,
that's
man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that might be true, but I also think that Kamara put up the numbers he did without being on the field as much as Hunt. Hunt was a feature back all year. They barely ever took him off the field, and I feel like if he would have played the same number of steps as Hunt, I think Kamara would have just been far and away better than him. As for the Saints, they do have Michael Thomas. I think they can open up the top with him a little bit. I think they're going to be a little bit harder to beat than you do. But with that, we can always move on to our coaching discussion. Who do you think is the most valuable coach or the most who will get your MVP for coaches this year?
Well, my Coach of the Year is going to be plain and simple. It's Doug Peterson. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles last year were a train wreck. People thought that Doug Peterson was the biggest mistake that they made after they got rid of Andy Reid. And, he really showed everyone what he was all about, managing this team. And they do have some divas, don't get me wrong. But Alshon Jeffrey put his head down and played well. Carson Wentz had a spectacular MVP caliber season until he got hurt, which was really unfortunate. And I think his play calling for the most part has been really good. And I guess we'll see what happens in the playoffs, but it's got to be Doug Peterson for me.
I'm also going in another direction on this one. I think the coach of the year is Sean McVay. He took, I believe, a 4-win Rams team from last year that was run by
Hmm.
Jeff Fisher straight into the ground. And in the course of one season, he's totally flipped that around. He seems like he's a guru when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. And he took a guy like Jared Goff, who everyone was already calling a bust, and turned him into a pretty good looking quarterback. Maybe not quite as good as Carson Wentz, but I think if you're before the year started, if you had to pick one of them, everyone was taking Carson Wentz as the guy most likely to succeed. Now, I think both look like viable options. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I mean, if I get the chance, I'm definitely going to be picking up Goff on my fantasy team next year. He had a heck of a season. He helped shape receivers like Woods up and Cup, brought them up a little bit, opened it up for Todd Gurley too to have a monster season. And yeah, man, I do like that pick. He was definitely a second place for me. I know people are gonna be like, well, why didn't you pick Belichick or someone else? Well, that's a different topic for a different day. But I say Doug Peterson with the close Sean McVay second, and I do
To,
like what they're doing in
to
LA.
summarize really quick, Peterson and McVay had to build their teams, we feel, whereas Belichick pretty much already had his course set. And while he's been the coach of the year in years past, he didn't have to do too much to continue as well as he did. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if they get to the Super Bowl again and everything. But, at least at the end of the season, I think I'd go with McVay and Peterson ahead of Belichick for coach of the year.
Yeah, it's nice to see these young teams, and younger coaches just like shaping these guys and kind of putting a we believe mentality into their games and like not really relying on having a big name coach and stuff like Jeff Fisher, for example. I hope to God he doesn't come to the Bears because I know he was saying he wanted to, but sometimes you got to bring in fresh faces and kind of show like, hey, man, the younger guys can coach too. So it's not always about having that big name.
I totally agree. And I hope for your sake you don't get Jeff Fisher. As a Tennessee fan, let me just say 8-8 is always the best he can do. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes, and it'll be interesting to see who you guys get over Fox. But with that, let's move forward. What's our next topic?
On our next topic, we're going to hit up Defensive Player of the Year, and I'll steal this one from you, Reeps. I'm going to go Calais Campbell, man. That Jaguars defense was vaunted with him on it. 14 and a half sacks this year. Really a big difference maker in my book. That defense really wasn't ranked to be as good as it was, at least I feel, as good as it was this year. And he's a force to be reckoned with, man. And to me, it's got to be Calais Campbell. I am kind of biased because I defensive linemen are in the trenches, but to get 14 and a half sacks is no coincidence, man. He's a beast, so I'm going with Calais Campbell.
I'm gonna actually stick to the same team, but a different position. I'm gonna say Jalen Ramsey is one of the guys. I know he's a bit of a diva, and I know I'm gonna take a lot of flack for this, but he's one of those guys that really helped turn around a Jaguars defense that has had a lot of players on it, but can never really seem to get it all together at once. I think them drafting him and the way he's been playing at cornerback alongside AJ Boye is really what's helping those guys up front get their sacks and everything, just because the coverage has been so lights out. So if I had to give it to someone, I'd probably give it to him.
Okay, yeah. If the Patriots win the Super Bowl, I'd have to say James Harrison, but no, I'm just joking. But yeah, so down and dirty, man. MVP race. I'll let you have the honors on this one. Who do you have winning the MVP, most valuable player in the NFL this year?
I think it's got to be Tom Brady again. I hate to say it, but especially with Carson Wentz bowing out early with an injury and everything, I think Brady has been the best quarterback through and through, week to week. That you got to see. There's not really anyone else I think that stands out this year that I would give it to. So I'd got to go with Brady.
See, here's where we're gonna disagree again, man. Tom Brady was great, especially at his age, but I gotta go with Todd Gurley, man. Todd Gurley was an absolute monster this year, especially on that Rams team. He really did help Jeff Goff out, but man, he had 279 carries, which was second in the NFL. 1,300 yards rushing, first in the NFL, and 13 rushing touchdowns, another number one in the NFL. But get this, 2,093 total yards from scrimmage and 19 total touchdowns. Not just MVP of the league for me, but MVP in fantasy because I know that he won people championships in fantasy in their final game. So it's got to be Gurley for me, man.
I'll disagree with you, and here's a short reason why. Don't get me wrong, I like Todd Gurley, and I definitely put him in my top five, but I feel like the Rams would still be a good team. If you took Todd Gurley off it and substituted someone else in there, I don't think the Patriots would be very good without Tom Brady this year. That's why I think I gave him a little bit of an edge.
Well, look at Mr.
Still a good
Garoppolo.
pick, though.
Look at
Definitely true.
I
But
still think that he's going to end up back on the Patriots, honestly.
that would be the biggest kicker if they trade and then he leaves to go sign with the Patriots. I really don't think so. I don't think Tom Brady's hanging it up, and I think Garoppolo is ready to play now. I think him with Shanahan out there in San Fran will be a nightmare for some teams coming up here for the next couple of years. They just need another year or two to get some more talent on that roster, and then they'll really be scary, I think.
If Garoppolo could have had the 2012 49ers, I'd say they're winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, hands down. I think a lot of quarterbacks could come in there and won a Super Bowl with that. That defense was historic. And I'm not saying that just to slam Kaepernick. I don't think Kaepernick's the worst quarterback in the world. I just don't think he's very good. I think if you put a good quarterback in there, pretty much anyone could have beat Joe Flacco.
Yeah, definitely. So all our awards are out of the way now, and we're going to talk potential playoff matchups and what needs to happen and who we think is going to make it. Let's start with the AFC really quick. We know the Jaguars are locked. We know the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Steelers are locked in. We have the Titans, Ravens, Chargers, and Bills all fighting for the last two spots. Who do you think is going to be? Who do you think are going to take those last two spots?
I don't think it's mathematical, but the Ravens are about as close as they get to taking that spot. I think they're going to beat the Bengals this week and secure the fifth seed in the AFC. Sixth seed is definitely up in the air, and I'm going to pick the Titans to blow it. I think this is going to be the Chargers. I believe they have the tiebreaker over the Bills. I'm not certain whether the Bills win or not this week down in Miami, but I think the Chargers are going to win at home against Oakland. And I believe this is just the type of game that the Titans are going to choke, and then hopefully we'll clear out a little bit of our coaching staff and get the team ready to actually succeed in the future. It's too bad because I think the Titans really needed to make it back to the playoffs to get a little bit of momentum and a little bit of attitude back into our program. But we'll have to see. I'm definitely gonna be watching at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it is almost a lock for the Ravens. They technically need to they control their own fate, honestly. If they beat the Bengals, they're in. But if they beat the Bengals, or if they lose to the Bengals and the Bills beat the Dolphins, then the Bills are in and they're out if Tennessee wins their game against the Jags. So I am going to, that to me, that's not going to happen. Buffalo's going to fall short. I think the Chargers came on a little too late. I'm going to say Tennessee beats the Jags. They get in, and the Ravens get in too with the early first round exit, but they will be getting in to the playoffs, man. And it looks like
It
If
would,
they get in, they'll be playing the Chiefs, and the Titans will be playing the Jags, which does favor the
and that'll
Titans.
be a really interesting matchup because at that point the Titans will have beaten the Jaguars twice, and then to get to go back to Jacksonville to play them again in the playoffs, I think that'll be a really, really nasty game and really fun one to watch.
Hey, if the Packers could do it to the Bears in 2011, anything's possible, man. So I wouldn't hang my head low. I think the Titans are gonna get in, man, and they're gonna lose to the Patriots. It looks like if they do, but we'll get on with that later. So moving on to the NFC, we know the teams that are locked in basically are the Vikings, the Eagles, the Rams, and that's pretty much those three right now. The Saints can have some stuff go their way where they drop from the fourth seed to the fifth or the sixth, but they are locked in. I shouldn't say they're not, but some seeding arrangements could happen, and I really don't know, man. I think it's really up in the air here. Do you think who do you think's gonna make it? Do you think the Falcons are gonna make it or the Seahawks?
Well, the Falcons play the Panthers, and I think that's going to be one of the more interesting games this week. I really think it's going to be down to the wire. I know the Saints had a bit of a, or I'm sorry, I know the Panthers had a bit of a scare against Tampa Bay last week, but I think the Saints are going to dispatch them pretty easily, and I think Carolina's going to beat the Falcons. I think Carolina's the better team across the board, especially with our favorite guy in the world, who we can't get through one of these without mentioning, Steve Sarkisian being a part of the Falcons offense. I really don't think they're going to have what it takes to beat Carolina. So I think it's all going to be in Seattle's hand. And remind me who they're playing again. Is it the
Seattle's
40? It's
playing
the
the
Cardinals, right?
Cardinals. Yeah.
Okay, so that should be an easy win for them. I'm going to say the Seattle sneaks into the sixth seed. I hope it doesn't happen. I'm kind of getting tired of seeing Seattle in the playoffs, but I bet you that's probably the direction it's going this year.
Yeah, with the Panthers basically being locked into the playoffs, it's basically a seeding thing at this point. Um, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go ahead and say that as much as I don't want this to happen, well, I guess I would rather Hawks to have three teams from the same division is a feat in its own. As much as I've been hating on the Falcons this year, just because of I'm not really a big fan of them. I don't want to see the Seahawks in it, and I do think the Falcons are going to win their game against the Panthers, just because I think the Panthers will take it a little easy this week, and I mean because they're already locked in. But I also Panthers would rather see the Saints than the Rams in the playoffs. What do you think about that?
I think they're dodge the division game, and I really think they're going to be playing for the home field because, like you said, they can still take it away from the Saints. I think Carolina's going to come out strong in this one, and I think it's going to be a battle down south for that one. I think the Panthers are just a little bit better on defense than the Falcons are at offense, so I really don't think that Atlanta's going to have the firepower to get through that defense.
All right, man. So it looks like we're all knotted up then, except for the Seahawks and Titans. So your predicted matchups for their wild card round will be Chargers at Jaguars and Ravens versus Chiefs. And then on the NFC side, it'll be the Seahawks against the Rams and the Panthers against the Saints, which will be two divisional matchups right out the gate in the wild card round. Pretty interesting, man.
Definitely, I think it's going to be interesting to see that many divisional games in the NFC if that's the way it shakes out, because those are usually harder fought than even some other matchups. So with that on top of playoff atmosphere, I think it'll be fun to watch.
Sounds good, man. Well, hey, like I said, I can't wait till next week. We're going to have all our guests on the show competing for the ultimate prize of being the ultimate guest and actual in hand prizes. So I guess that wraps up our week 17 NFL pick'em slash awards slash playoff scenarios.
That's right, and we'll be back next week with our picks, and our guests will be battling it out in an elimination battle that will see each one of them knocked off one a week. So it'll be exciting.
I was gonna say if no one's excited for this, I don't even know. I mean, the prizes we're giving out are gonna be pretty sweet. So, yep, we'll leave it there, man. Guys, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for future content, including tech unboxings, game reviews, and more.
And let us know down in the comments who you think is going to make it to the playoffs this year, so that way you can brag when you're right and we're not.
For Fireteam Base, peace out.
Agreed, guys.